Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Lilith series. I'm your astrologer, Adama, and I'm here with Six, founder, astrologer, extraordinaire, amazing talent, Black Women Cry. Welcome.
Hi. Thank you for having me on.
Thank you for coming. I saw your video on Instagram, and I'm actually going to link it down below in the comments. And I was like, intuition, oh, I should contact her. So I sent a message. We had a few Zooms, and I was like, oh, you should come on the Lilith series to not only talk about yourself and your astrology, but to also talk about Lilith, because I feel like you had some great takes on it. And it's definitely got my wheels turning about my own message. So I really wanted to share. Welcome.
Yay. Thank you so much for having me on.
Yeah. And we're literally right. I mean, the solar eclipse happened, but we're coming off that energy. So, and in the middle of, well, not middle, but we were in Mercury retrograde in Cancer. So we've had,
And it was conjunct my Cancer moon in the 9th house.
it's like my ascendant. So it's just,
We are popping. We are channeling today.
We are. So I really just wanted to get this started with, how did you discover that astrology was your life path? How did you get into all of this?
I wouldn't even say that astrology is my life path. I think my life path is helping people process trauma. I think in a way, like, I think doula, like intimacy doula, really is just kind of what I am supposed to be. And astrology is more so one of the tools that I have in my bag to help people put words to the things that they're feeling.
Yeah. That's such a great way of putting it, because especially as Black women, there is an extra layer of trauma that we have to work through to become, step into our own power to manifest. And that's what I feel like sometimes is missing in the non-Black spiritual esoteric world, is that extra understanding of that extra layer. So I think that's something extremely needed in our community, and I think it's so smart.
Yeah. I think that one thing that's really powerful too, and I feel like that's why a lot of people are confused as to why Black people do astrology in the way that they do. They don't understand that a big part of Black culture is storytelling. So we put
Anecdote.
so many metaphors and sensations. Like, Black people really, like, we tell the soul story in the way that we do things. So language and linguistics, I think, is a little different for us because we always kind of describe things a little differently. And I feel like when I talk to, like, non-Black people, sometimes I feel like they're confused by the things that I'm actually saying, because I'm a Sagittarius, so I'm super storyteller to the max. And it took a very long time for me to understand, like, just, I feel like Black people, we just kind of, we will get a little louder than what is allowed in Western culture. We're used
Listen,
like
like
hand
African,
gesticulations and, like, literally bin words on, like, bin words upside down with AABE. Like, it's like we're just like speaking different languages even when we speak the language, and it's like the dialects, and it's very interesting. And I think you definitely see that in other POC too. And it, like, oh my god, that's the reason why I like TikTok. I'm like, damn, everybody, we all showing the tricks. Hold up. The ancestors weren't telling everybody the tricks. Calm down, we got a code switch. Sometimes we got a code switch. So even when I see, like, Black astrologers, I'm like, the way that they're looking at these signs and, like, going back to, like, actual mythology and understanding there's a reason why this name was ascribed to the, like, even with Black culture, the things we name our kids with the different sounds and inflections, like, it's because those sounds are sentimental to us in a very different way. So it's like, I feel like when you even take a moment and say Lilith, it's almost like she's asserting her identity. And I think that's really Lilith energy, just coming in, asserting your identity, saying Lilith.
Yeah.
Say it.
Lilith. It's like Adama.
Yes.
Adama is the pronunciation, but Adama, I keep it chill for people.
That feels so whole. Like your name feels whole.
It means earth.
Right? Whole. I once my dad told me that my real name means from the heart, and I was like, so I googled it, and it's actually a Hindu name, and it means intelligent woman. And I like Sagittarius thing, and it's still Sagittarius to me to be like, nope, I'm gonna look what my name actually means, find out what it actually means, finds out that it's from a different culture than my own, and then finds out it means intelligent woman. That's exactly what I'm going to strive for. And the sun is who you strive for. Literally, Black people are so magical in the names that we give our children. And I'm Caribbean. So
I mean,
the
yeah,
layers,
yeah.
it's like magic starts even with the names that we give our children. Like, we have to think about the path that we're going to give them, the timing that we give them. It's like these things, working with season, working with nature, to me is so Lilith, because think about it, it's like even in her story, it's like she was like, no, like we are going to be balanced.
Yeah.
I am asserting myself, you are whole and so am I. You know, it's like she did not allow herself to be the afterthought.
Right.
And that to me is like, I feel like that is the powerful thing about finding Lilith even in your chart. Like, where you have it, people may make you the afterthought.
Yeah.
But it's like, as long as you assert yourself and remember, like, no, I'm here too. I am here too, and I get to be heard. Like, bro, that is Lilith energy. So many people might try to cross you. You may have to second guess yourself, but no, you are here. And so long as you assert yourself, you are Lilith, you are here. I feel like that is the house where you can see yourself thriving in.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
then eventually trying not to sabotage, because I feel like Lilith could also self-sabotage.
Lilith, I call Lilith a mini Pluto. Because it's just like similar energy where Pluto can be where your personal power is. That's just like where you can experience profound
Yes.
the karma in this lifetime. So if you can master that energy, then you're good. So no one ever said Pluto.
Yeah.
And right now Pluto, is in Capricorn, retrograde. We have Jupiter and Saturn now is backing up, into all of that energy again. Like this is a time of transformation, and no one ever said it's easy. It's just
Yes. I severely feel that. It's transiting in my third house, and I have become content with not making sense.
yeah.
I just
Girl, this week my intuition, like every day I would think of someone 3 times, like different people multiple times a day, and they would literally text me, like reach out, email, like reach out. And I'm just like, the veil is just so thin for me right now. Or if I think something, it kind of just happens. I think we're all kind of, especially with Neptune retrograde coming up on the 23rd, it's like literally right around the corner. Like the veil is thin, I think, and we all, especially Black people, we need to continue to tap into our power and our intuition. That's how we're gonna get through this.
Yes, absolutely. As you were speaking, I was automatic writing. I was like, gotta take this little channel down, or else I may forget it. That wasn't my thought. Like, I said it, but it wasn't my thought.
Yeah.
But no, I definitely feel that. And even one thing that I really appreciate is that Mars is leaving its conjunction with Neptune, and it's preparing to go into Aries. And I just feel like, oh my God, what a sigh of relief. And yes, it's going to be, I think, retrograde in Aries for like 4 months or so, but
Yeah.
at least it's going to be in Aries.
Yeah. And then I mean then we're like on the last degree though, from now until I think it's like the 28th, is when the switch to Aries happens. But the final degrees of Pisces can be a lot.
Yes, because I feel like with Pisces, I'm gonna go with she, but she's a transmutable energy, which means it's
Yeah,
like she can be very immature, but like even through her immaturity, she processes as she can find the words, and you can't really blame her if she can't find the words yet. But
yeah,
like she this is an energy that is sluggish but at the same time free
yeah.
and like still but at the same time moving, and I feel like it's a very as opposed to a doing energy, she's a very being energy who feels
Receptive.
moved to do because she is the feminine side of Jupiter with her sibling being Sagittarius. Like that's a lot, and she's the eldest energy, so she has to hold a lot of responsibility. It's a heavy, like this is a heavy time to have Neptune and Mars and like our libido. Like it feels like we are running towards something that is not even fully formed yet, but we're just hoping and wishing and believing, and who knows if we're gonna live, but like that's exactly why we should live in the moment. Twerk on a statue, I guess.
And have hope. I think the last 2
Yes.
weeks of Pisces are like, I just have to surrender and have hope that source is gonna take care of it. This reality is, it's not completely real. And
And
I
I feel like, even going into like this Capricorn conjunct, we have Pluto and Jupiter, and we're about to have Saturn bring his ass back, which I feel like
July
these, like
1st,
when you're thinking, huh?
July 1st, it backs into
Mm-hmm.
um,
And I feel like like when you're thinking about the divine feminine, divine masculine, being that this little party is happening in Capricorn, the divine feminine of building up new structures, it's almost like she's like, no, Saturn, don't just run with it. We actually need to reflect on what we are running towards, because
yeah,
Neptune is doing her thing all alone, and Mars learned something, and Mars is going to tell us something for 4 months that we're going to reflect on. But like when we get back to like Saturn right here with Jupiter, like basically think Zeus energy with Cronus energy, that's like healing the divine masculine
mm,
within the feminine world,
yeah.
because Capricorn is a feminine energy. And then like Pluto's also there. Like I feel like Pluto's a gender neutral like energy. And
Pluto's 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 feminine.
I
Or it could
I
be
I
like the
I
dark
feel
masculine, maybe.
I I feel like, and for that reason it is clear. I guess like maybe because
Yeah.
I have Pluto conjunct Sun, I'm just like
I'm like,
I feel like Pluto I feel like Pluto, like being that he was ascribed to Hades, I feel like whenever people express like Pluto energy, there's almost like this othering in compare, like Pluto others himself as opposed to being around with Poseidon and Neptune's and so forth. And the worst thing that Pluto actually did was the kidnapping and raping of Persephone. But the thing is with that, that was set up. Like it was Zeus, like who like hired like some like winged creature, Cupid-ish kind of thing, to go shoot Pluto with a love arrow, and he became madly in love with Persephone, and that was Zeus trying to cover up the rape of Persephone. So I feel like even then, bringing in Zeus with Pluto and Cronus happening at Capricorn's home, that is healing familial issues. That is
absolutely.
unpacking people having to stay home. And now we're doing an eclipse. This is the healing of the divine masculine, men having to sit down and confront their fears and their feelings. Like a lot of men, like people are like the feminization of men. Like a lot of Black men have that. And it's like,
I
it's,
know.
yeah, let's do that. Like maybe that's what y'all need, because Black women, I feel like the reason why our magic is so popular is because we have had to be masculine, because we were like white women in this country were always kind of intimidated of our beauty. There were literally laws created where we had to cover our hair with head wraps in the United States of America because people were intimidated by our hair and how we would style it and decorate it. And then we would do the same shit with our head wraps.
Mhm.
And so it's like, I feel like what makes Black women so magical right now is that we've learned how to lean into different breaths and different energies and different channels and into our body. Like I see Black women like doing yoga and hula hooping and tapping in with this inner child and just being like releasing it all, leaving the matrix and releasing it all. And I feel like that is what, when you become one with nature and you realize that you're no more significant than the cats and the trees or anything, that is Lilith energy too, because I feel like that's what Lilith had to learn. In the same, she's very Leo in a way, like in the same breath of asserting herself, just like in Aries, it's like like in Leo, she's like, this is me, like look at me, and she almost has to be humble because she did stuff to God. And God, I feel like that is the thing. I feel like that's the Lilith story is the story that humanizes God. The first story that humanizes God, in my opinion, because, well, aside from him having to rest, like, I feel like that was another magic human thing. But the thing that makes God so significant in that story is that that story shows that God was allowed to be wrong because Lilith gets the last laugh in that story.
Absolutely.
The story never ended for her. We're talking about her today. And I think that is the magic that Black women have been able to find, and even Black queer people, you know. And I feel like that's where I can see Lilith and probably like Pluto getting along. I kind of ship them. I feel like
totally. Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's like part of the mythology. Like, it's like said that's like the mythology is that she she did.
Oh shit. Okay, I gotta read that because I feel like that's what I want.
You know what's really interesting is because it's like sometimes she's in pop culture, but she's in, you know, Sabrina the Teenage Witch. She's in it,
Yes,
and she's
yes, yeah. I watched. I love that show.
so I was
Yeah,
like, y'all like
I feel
are
like
putting some occult shit in your show. Like they put some occult.
bro, and that's the thing. They made it so freaking insufferable. They made it so insufferable to watch that show because you have to watch Sabrina.
Yeah.
But boy, you watch that, boy, the occult is popping out.
Yeah. I was like, wow, this is some ancient. The guy, one of them's name's Beelzebub, and just all this stuff. I'm like,
I've been working with the demonology since I was a child. So like hearing these names, I'm like, whoa, y'all are getting real bold. Y'all summoning what spirit?
why don't you elaborate on just, you know, your early childhood and just like how you got into certain witchcraft practices and things like that?
Huh. I guess like I just kind of taught myself and then I learned from people online in different countries. Like I used to talk to some witches in Antigua. So
Wow.
they like shared with me a lot of stuff. So I understood, I guess if I want to sit down and read the Bible, I could like really go back and like find the message of astrology in that.
Yeah,
And
code it. Yeah.
my mom, like she didn't she made us go to church all the time. So like I just kind of like I feel like it was just too much for me because going to Roman Catholic Church as a child and then like in one ear your mom is like Jesus doesn't exist. This is all fake. But
And
like at the other time you
that.
have this yeah, because of my grandparents. My mom wanted me to do it because of my grandparents. So I feel like I always wanted to understand where people were coming from. So I like to hear things out. So I end up learning a lot from people because I asked them questions and I listened. So eventually I learned that everybody in the world does their own type of magic. It's just that some people know more secrets than the other people. And if you listen, if you really listen to everything, the secrets will expose themselves.
That's really interesting. It's true. I mean, as I said before this call, and everyone on this channel knows I'm a huge conspiracy theorist and I'm very out there with my opinions of things. And I think as an occultist, which essentially that's what astrology is occult information and the study of that, you can see a lot of stuff, and you're just like, how does no one else like see this? It's like very obvious. Some of the things that are put right in front of us on display. Like even I love how like Contagion came out like in 2017 before coronavirus. It's like they tell us what's coming all the time.
It's very interesting. I think for a lot of people, magic secrets are like in the weirdest of places. Like in Western culture, I think they're really in psychology because psychology is the study of the mind, and the mind is not a physical thing.
Well, they call it psychology. It's like in spirituality we call it vibration and energy and like energy shifting, but it's like psychology and physics. Yeah, you guys are just like trying to make it the scientific thing, and it's like it's literally
Exactly. And that's why spirituality and science should always align, and they will always align. And it's interesting because I feel like it's through studying different like just difference, like through studying difference, through studying like diversity, like you can get a very holistic type of magic, and something that obviously would have started from the original people, Lilith, Adama.
sure. Adama means the dust that the original people came from,
Hmm.
the earth.
Man, that's powerful. I hope they don't start burning witches again. That would suck.
Yeah, it would, but they would never. It wouldn't go too far.
Burn the black women.
Wouldn't-
Burn the
We're all too powerful now. It's like we're all too powerful now. There would be a lot of backlash, like a lot of angry
That is
not
true
women,
because
just men, male powerful witches too.
I think exactly, like I think the true power in witchcraft is finding an equilibrium with nature and working with nature to like give and magic is a give and take. It is always going to seek a balance. So there's going to be pros and cons to every single outcome and so forth. And we all have to be accountable for our free will. And if we bend the free will of others, we have to be attuned to that too.
Yep.
But it's going to be interesting to see how things manifest because it's all a butterfly effect and the dominoes are falling, and it's kind of interesting because again I feel like with Mars and Neptune conjunct and escaping that conjunct in Pisces, we can feel the momentum, but that doesn't mean our feet are actually moving, which is really hard. So when Mars goes into Aries, I think we're going to be moving, and it's going to make sense a little bit more.
Yeah.
These eclipses are going to make a lot more sense too.
Yeah, and this is the last eclipses on the Capricorn Cancer axis.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a lot to think about into whatever area you have. I mean, for me, it's rising descendant. Fun. Um, but whatever area of life that is for you, that's
Damn.
change.
I think I'm going to go into a body of water tonight and just sit.
Oh my gosh, if I could do that. Oh yes, you're in Florida, so if I could do that, I totally would.
Yeah.
So like is in terms of your, because I know you
Go take a shower. Take a spiritual shower tonight.
That's yeah.
If you can handle it. If you can handle it.
I should. Yeah. It's been, I would say, if I wasn't an astrologer, I would be having like a crazy mental breakdown today, but
Yeah.
you know, I'm like, this is what, I've been expecting this, so let's go,
This is just where we're at right now, and that's okay.
Yeah. And I'm a big believer in reality is an illusion. There's no such thing. And that's what I think also Saturn and Aquarius is kind of trying to break down and break through. I mean, the Pluto Saturn conjunction was a breakdown of reality completely. It's done. Like we're done. I mean, if people are trying to subscribe to the old ways, like they're not gonna like make it. It's just gonna be really hard for them,
No, I think when you said like reality is not real, and that's what we're gonna figure out with these upcoming chances, like that hits the nail on the head. Like the moment you can realize that reality is not real, and the only thing that's real is the reality you create for yourself. And I really do believe with knowledge we can know more of different realities we could live in, but that doesn't mean that we can't be happy within the realities that we exist in.
Because
Even
at the end of the day, if you have everything you need, like this, that's obviously a big belief of mine. if you can vibrate on the level of having everything you need, you'll everything will come.
Exactly. And I think that, you know what? I feel like I understand. Have you ever read the book Why All the Black Kids Sit Together in the Classroom?
No, I haven't.
It's this book by, oh golly, I wish I could remember her name. And sadly, I'm a Sagittarius who's still trying to move out of my ex's place. And I believe that my items will all come and he will pay for it all. But, and like, never text me again because I have not reached out for my stuff. I'm just trusting and believing.
It'll
But
come.
I'll go drive and get it if I need. With that being said, I feel like in that book, it really talks about how like Black people, it's like when we get to sit down together, we're able to actually have affinity and breathe. And like we're able to talk through things that maybe our white friends don't want to understand, can't understand, and shouldn't understand. And I think we see that that thrives, and that's going to be, I think, the challenge, to think through during retrograde Capricorn Saturn, and with all these things, because Black people, we are transforming our own industries. Like we didn't need to code switch BET. We didn't need to code switch BET. We really could have had our own space. Like we
Yeah,
need to be able to have our own space to preserve our own culture and to preserve our identity, or we're going to have to all coexist and intermingle. And we can do both. We can do both, or we have to melt. And I don't think that humans were intended to melt. I think that just
I
like all
do.
the other animals,
I
we
think
melt together on this earth,
well, this
but
is
we
all
have,
one girl. Humans have we're meant to all come together. This is the reason
what
why
does coming together mean to you?
race it was created by the white patriarchy, straight up.
That's, I'm not talking about race. I'm not talking about race.
But
Race in America was created during to justify the transatlantic slave trade. I'm not talking about race. I'm talking about different cultures. Like for example, there are in nature there are birds that can look alike but all sing a different song because that's they're like they've been bottlenecked into a certain environment for so long. Different groups of
we're talking
people,
about like
they
accepting
dance
each other.
differently. Exactly. Like it's like we can all exist throughout the earth and be different and preserve our
Of course,
cultures and our
yeah.
different. We don't have to melt together and be together. We can be separate if we want to. And if the other groups of people want to come in and be a part of that and blend or even contribute their culture, and we build this human experience of different cultures together, like that's what they can do. But I definitely believe that groups can be separate and preserve.
Mhm. Well, I mean, Aquarius, it's like everyone's their own individual person and their individuality is really that's
Exactly.
good. But I just feel that having too much difference is what has created certain divisions in people, whether we subconsciously know it or not. And I just see things getting closer and closer to being melted together until people are like, just
What does
they're
melted
all just different
together
colors,
mean to
they're all
you?
of different backgrounds. Like to me, it means like maybe in 50 years, just things will be so much different. Someone from Poland would marry a brown girl from Oakland, and then that
Yeah, I don't think that's not what's
things
going to
are gonna get
happen.
so fluid with especially technology.
Mm.
There's not gonna be like, like even if you take me and my background, like on my mom's side, like there's just like so much different stuff, and then my dad's even being African, but then there's layers to that with that. I'm like a freak. Like
I think you're.
that's
I
like
think I see where you're coming. I think that's going to be at
that's my
least another 100 years. Like I think
yeah, but
we.
that's my
I
perception
think we.
of
I
the
think we're going to see that in like places that are a little bit more like diverse and like easier to live in. Like when you think about the climate of North America, North America has the cold, it has the sun, it has places that are like comfortable. Like it's much easier to brave this than it like mentally, because I think that being able to survive different temperatures is also a mental thing, and eventually
oh
you
yeah.
figure out how to survive it. But I think that a lot of people can't get it in their headspace that they can live in Antarctica. I don't think people like, I think what's going to scare a lot of people with global warming is like, yeah, probably the environment is changing and humans are going to have to find a new way to adapt to that environment. But it's like, if you don't think you can do it, then you are causing yourself a mental block of adaptivity. The animals aren't thinking about it, they're just adapting, which means we will either have to adapt or die off if we cannot adapt. So I think that, you know, for the next 100 years, I think we're going to start seeing that fluidity pop off, specifically in like different, like Indonesia, I think is a place where they have their own like cultural fluidity, and it's going to be based off of where people are. Like, I think we're going to see the Caribbean, North America, and South America become one collective culture, and yeah, so I guess Canada.
So what I'm saying is, you hear what I'm saying, girl?
Yeah, no. I hear what you're saying, but even in these land masses, I guess like maybe we might have a Pangea. I guess the real question is like, what will the Earth look like? And I don't know. I don't know if that will have room for separateness. I think separation is always like separate cultures are always going to exist, but I do agree that the division we're going to get past. That I agree with a lot, and that's an amazing point.
Well, culture is an illusion. All of it's an illusion, and that's where
I
we're.
think it's a game. Like, it's something to do for pleasure.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. But it's all an illusion, and I think also
Yeah.
technology is going to increase to the point where borders are not. It's just not going to be a thing.
It doesn't need to be.
So it's just like I just see that going, and also I think because it's like our gene is dominant, so it's like a lot of people are gonna be like beige or brown or like it's just gonna be a lot, and like same with
And
obviously.
they already are. We've been, this is fluid. I guess that's why I'm saying like we're always going to keep the separation, because you're right. This is reality. Like, we as humans existing on this earth are always going to create something to occupy our mind. Like, if we ever just wanted to turn the brain off, like, then everything would just coexist and be peaceful. But I think eventually we'll find new ways to go about peace and conflict. I think going into where we're going into the future, the next 100 years, it's with all these transits, with Pluto going from Capricorn, and like the healing, really the toxic masculinity, and bringing out this divine masculine and this divine feminine, both in women, men, and people who decide not to conform to gender. And we're seeing like gender and these energies being so fluid, and that to me is why we probably adopted astrology, and queer people and women are doing, especially Black women, because it's like we know that energy doesn't exist in one dimension. We know that we live in and create different realities for ourselves, and that's why it really is nature and nurture, like what we came into this earth wanting to do, and the environment that we're in. And I guess that's why I'm like saying like it's going to be an interesting ride, because it's like, to your point, like, what reality, like, I think we got bored of this reality, and now we're going into the next one. Which one, what are we going to create? Like, what is it going to look like? What do we actually need to do to preserve the earth? Like, how do we create the most adaptable surroundings? And when you even look at Aquarius energy, like, I think that's why we're seeing people getting into the plants and the trees and the gardening and the soil and the compost, because people are like, nah, I actually want to live around trees. This feels good. Oxygen breathing. Whoa, let's figure out how to actually breathe correctly, because a lot of people don't know how to breathe.
I mean, I
I
think
think that
Uranus and Taurus, I think Uranus and Taurus as well is definitely has a big hand in that and changing the way we treat the earth and treat nature around us for sure. I mean, it's going to be squaring once Saturn goes into Aquarius full time. It's going to start squaring, so that's going to create more weather issues and more climate issues that are actually going to force people to pay more attention to that actual fact of our planet and how we treat it, because we treat it like crap. So we have all these
absolutely. Absolutely. One thing that I would definitely recommend that we can do, like, on a micro level starting day, is buy some plants, like, because plants are literally your friends. They literally like take air and then clean it, and they're like, here, breathe, human. And especially Black people, Black women especially, because it's like so many Black people we have, like there's so much environmental racism, which is basically these corporations like specifically profiting off of creating dangerous things in Black or Native American neighborhoods. And it's like then you see so many of us having issues with breathing and stuff. And I recently went to this doctor, Candace Harding, and like she is a physical therapist, and like she took one, like, so Black women don't get taken seriously by doctors and in the medical field.
No,
Fun fact.
yeah.
Studies show we're more likely to die or have our pain ignored or not get like prescribed pain medication, which to me also means that we're also more likely to be overlooked. Shout outs to Lilith because people may overlook us wherever Lilith is in our chart.
Yeah. Oh, mine's
But
in this house. Ah.
whoa, that woo,
That's why this channel is named as its name.
Yowza, you said say my name, say my name. Tell me why Destiny's Child came out with Say My Name, and that was probably your song for a hot minute.
Oh my god, girl! Like, yeah, I was like, me and friends would like literally do like mock music videos of that song, like pretend we were in the apartment in the video, and like be like, "Oh, you're Kelly, you're I'm Beyonce." Yes, that was my song.
Astrology is real, and when you sit down and unpack why you and your friends pick the different positions and then understand how Kelly, Michelle, and Beyonce symbolize the three different paths that Black women sometimes walk down based off of the colorism in this country, and literally like how we made fun of, disregarded like Michelle and like her mental illness problems and her anxiety. And like it's very interesting because Kelly was dark skinned, Michelle was brown skinned, and Beyonce was light skinned.
Yeah.
And then and that like what is very interesting, I was talking to one of my friends who's also an astrologer. I told her this is actually more like the time for like the medium brown girl, like the girl who's like they're gonna throw in some dark women representatives, but it's really like the time of like medium brown. And I feel like even around the
Oh, everyone.
even around and I mean on the mainstream media, because I feel like what people are doing right now is they're releasing race, but that doesn't mean that they haven't released like the ethnic and like the nationalism and ethnicity. And it's interesting because I think what we're seeing is a lot of Americans coming into the grander society in the larger world, but the larger world, I think, also is under the illusion of white imperialism and or American imperialism and Western imperialism. So I think that like I think that's also why we're having the retrograde season of the year, like inside the whole world, inside sitting down, thinking and reading and finding something to do because oh my god, there's a plague. Be strategic in your magic. Witchcraft is coming into popularity, and there's a literal plague at the same time, and people not noticing the planets all in retrograde, and then the planets and the Pluto and the once in a lifetime, and like I'm just like, there's a lot going on, and it's all obvious. Like this is a huge transition, and it's going to be happening for our lifetimes. And I think the best example of that is Angela Davis collecting her coins. Look at the queen. She did all that work. Black woman, she did it for Black women. She did that. She did that for years. And I feel like that is the metaphor of just our individualism. And even like, Lilith, like the sacrifice she made for women and Black women and any marginalized group, because Lilith stands up for those who are marginalized. It wasn't even about her being a woman, because she's like, it's not even about my body. Like if I was Black, like I would want to be on top. Like what? Like I'm just Lilith. Like I am your equal. It's not man or these are just my parts. Just the reality we're in. Why are you creating all these structures that don't make sense? And then we have Capricorn and Jupiter and Saturn and Pluto all like, nope, we got to transform everything. And I just feel like during one of Lilith's last laughs, we're seeing everyone like this is the turning point. This is the turning point, and it's one of many turning
points. Totally. I mean, I think another thing too is like as we're leaving the age of Pisces, I think a lot of us are going to let go of a lot of the lies that the white patriarchy told us. And it's like no matter how hard we want to sugarcoat it, essentially our lives have been about unpacking all of the trauma specifically from the white patriarchy. We can call we can call it this and that. And I just feel like that's literally one major thing that I've, up until my Saturn return, I knew about racism, but it didn't dawn on me how deep it is. It just clicked on so many different levels. So I've spent years now. And now I'm pretty unpacked. There's a few things I have left to do, but we need to, this is the time to step into our power. That's really what moving away from the lies and the deception of Pisces into the enlightenment of Aquarius. And also, Aquarius rules us and people who are marginalized. And Aquarius cares about everyone and the collective and their own unique skills and their own unique individuality. And it's not just about, you know, just going out for number one and pulling the wool over everyone's eyes. It's like 100% us growing up, we were programmed by the media. It's like Pisces shit right there. I mean, even just like going to like Victoria's Secret. I was talking about this the other day with a friend, and I was like, girl, like we were like programmed that like that was like normal.
Remember
Like
Courtney
fucking
Snowden?
Giselle Bundchen, like I'm never gonna look Giselle Bundchen, nor do I want to, but like that's messed up. But that's Pisces shit.
Do you remember Courtney Snowden?
Was she like an angel, like Victoria?
No. Courtney Snowden was this like 16-year-old girl back like when I was 16. So like I'm 25, somebody do the math. And she was famous at 16 because she was marrying a 50-year-old actor. And America just watched that happen. And like nobody talks about her anymore.
Did
Like some people do
like,
it, huh?
did the parents like
They
sign
just signed off and let it happen. She was so hypersexualized. She probably to some extent inspired bimbo culture in some ways. Like she was 16. She was freaking 16. And like I was just like, I wonder what happened to Courtney Snowden. Like I remember her. That was a crazy story. And I Googled her and it's like she's been doing interviews and she's like that like she was exploited essentially. Like it's worth reading like her story and like what happened. But it's like there are so many stories about sexual exploitation coming out. Literally all these the divine masculine having to heal and the feminine energy of Capricorn and having to look at the system of rape and exploitation of anything that the masculine perceives weaker than them, which is they perceive the feminine weaker. So, and even I feel like this is a beautiful time too, especially for Black women, because all the Black women I know are having to find this center of peace no matter how intense or scary our life gets. And we are, I think that if we lean into being still and breathing, when Neptune goes into Aries, we thrive.
absolutely. Yeah. Oh, that's gonna be nice. I
It's
mean,
gonna be a release, huh?
nice, but I'm like, all right.
It's beautiful. I think that the key word with Pisces is intentional and important. Those are key words. It's like it may not be what you like, but it is intentional that you go through this. You intended it to, which is why you're here.
Oh,
And
yep.
you
It's all
stay and you
contract.
be. And
Yeah.
it's important because you will come out of this even stronger if you let yourself be, because you have to go with emotions too. And
Yep.
that is Pisces energy. Oh my God, exhausting. Can't wait until Mars is in Aries.
Yes. Yes. We're getting through it. Get through the gunk because that's what it
Oof.
is. Like a swamp, like a marsh. You're just kind
Not, I feel like
swimming.
I feel like Scorpio is the swamp because
Oh yeah.
in Shakira, I got this one from Astrology. Shakira once said that Scorpio is the swamp because you never know how deep it gets. I think the best way to describe, huh?
Or quicksand.
And the thing is, people hide dead bodies in swamps. Like literally, like that's where shadow. Like, I am a Scorpio first house stellium, and I grew up in the swamps of Florida. Like,
Wow.
how deep does it get? Like, what does she know?
Yeah.
Anyway, with that being said, I also don't. It's not surprising to me that Aquarius Saturn and Southern people are starting to get really famous, like Southern Black people, Creole, like people are leading into the South. I'm like, not shocked and not surprised.
Yeah, like New Orleans witches too. I feel like there's some I love, like I follow on online, and I think there's a huge resurgence in that as well. Just some
Mm,
other traditions coming back.
I was just on a podcast with an astrologer from New Orleans, and like we
Ooh,
were we were talking. There's definitely some conversations to be had, to talk about, to really explore. I think that I don't even think it's just like a rise of the South, but it's also like a rise of indigenous culture, a rise of the disregarded and the looked over. This is like a resurgence of energy, and it's very, very interesting to watch this time happen, because I think for people who are starting to get their due, it's I think, you're right. Reality is an illusion, and if you get lost in the reality you're creating for yourself, and you don't bring back, to your point, into the coexisting reality, if you stay separate for too long, you're gonna lose yourself. Humans are communal animals. We're packs.
yeah, we are. It's
Man, that's scary, especially with Pisces Neptune, because I think I don't I we have to talk about mental illness, and we have to talk about the drug crisis, because I think people are really losing themselves in their mind, and they don't realize it, and the internet makes it even easier.
it's so true. It's just I feel like a lot of these issues too are just symptoms of one root cause, and that we are still under a white patriarchal fascist dictatorship. Why wouldn't someone want to take drugs to escape this reality? I mean, some of the things people go through because our society doesn't care for one another is atrocious. And a lot of people are put here because they're just sensitive people, and they just ended up in a situation that where they got dealt that hand in this lifetime and are fulfilling certain karmas. And the system that we're under does not make that easy, especially marginalized people, which we're fulfilling a lot of shit this lifetime.
Yeah.
So
And
of course,
it's hard. Like, I even like and I accept the accountability of how this statement may make people feel, but I hope that people can understand the intention behind these words. It really pains me to see Sagittarius Pluto generation, because they're so smart. They are so
they are.
smart, and they are so suicidal.
Yeah,
They were eating Tide Pods. They were laughing, but like, like, and like, I think different people, like, I know that the Tide Pod thing started off as a joke, and I think the community for people who have Asperger's or autism, one of those groups, like online, those communities, and they were like, the texture of like a Tide Pod looks a specific way, and like it would be bright and shiny, and humans like bright and shiny, but you can't actually eat it. It's not good for you. And I feel like then eventually it transformed into this like irresponsible things where kids were like, I don't care as long as it's entertaining and it makes people laugh. And
yeah,
I think
so
and I think that, like, maybe I'm wrong, and somebody, tweet me or something, send me an email if it didn't resonate. But I feel like just even listening to like Sagittarius Pluto rap celebrities, they're trying to heal, but a lot of them are also overtly suicidal, like literally like, and I think that what's going on too is Scorpio Pluto, like Lupe Fiasco, Kid Cudi, these black men rappers, like kind of going behind doors. Like, I think Kid Cudi went into rehab possibly, or he went to get like help. He got help for something, and it was very powerful and beautiful. No shame in whatever he did.
yeah,
But I think Scorpio Pluto, we need to be better about setting an example and talking about these things. Like, a lot of the things that they're going through, like the rape culture didn't disappear. They went through it. We're just maybe not taught. The depression didn't go away. Our little brothers and sisters and cousins, like, I think that Scorpio Pluto, like, during this time, we really have to stop and talk to our siblings and understand their feelings. Talk to other people's siblings. Talk to some little kids. Be there and be selfless, because I think what we do now with all these planets in Capricorn, what we do now will reap the rewards later, even if the burden is heavy.
totally. Yeah. Whew, there's just a lot going on. And I think that I have hope, even though I think the next 4 years is going to be a lot. I definitely think, especially all the marginalized people, I think that, society is heading in a direction that it's going to be better for all of us.
Yeah.
And I think there's a reason why we were put here at this particular time. And I've woken up to who I am for a while, and I think that's what's happening right now too, especially with this isolation. There's a lot of us people who work in these fields are waking up to why we were really put here, and it's so empowering, and it's powerful, and it's very interesting because it's just divine work. It really is. It's a blessing to be put here with the ability to understand all of this, and then us like give it all, all to you guys. So,
I think, it really does start with unpacking the trauma because,
mhm,
going back to the realities, people don't realize, again, the mind is a non physical thing. And again, if people do feel like this comment disturbs them in any way, shape, or form, or I say something that's out of tongue, I apologize. Please come to me and I'll take accountability for it.
yeah,
My understanding of the mind and the brain is something that is actually physical, and if something goes haywire with the brain, then you really can't control that. There's no, like, you can only like try to cheat it,
mhm,
but unless you can repair it, and I don't know if we as humans have figured out how to repair the brain yet. I know we have neurosurgeons and stuff, but we're working on it.
yeah,
For for things like cognition, this is why I think therapy is going to be so powerful, is because the mind is a non-physical thing, which means we, with help and with the right treatments and possibly even the right formulas, like that's kind of what drugs are. They're different formulas, and drugs have pros and cons, but we can actually begin to heal past these traumas or these things that went haywire in our mind that we were never able to grow past or grow from, or maybe we got stuck or we went down the wrong path. And there's no real wrong path, there's only the paths that we create for ourselves. And eventually, I think with help and like going to therapists and psychologists who are competent enough to help you and take their ego out of it and really like be a vessel for your brain to freely explore and understand if you are actually a threat or not,
yeah.
I think that we will be able to make it to the next level. I think that a lot of people have dark and disturbing thoughts, but they don't want to actually say it to another human being.
Such a very Scorpio thing of you to say. Oh, it's
Yeah,
true. It's true.
it's true. That's about a humanity. It's being dark, but is it dark or is it trauma? And that's the swamp of Scorpio. Is it dark or is it trauma? And
Right.
through intimacy, we can figure that out.
Yeah.
And I think that's the lesson for Scorpio Pluto. If we can teach that to Sagittarius Pluto, they will change the world onward.
Totally. Yeah. That's what we've been put here for, us old people.
Stop. I I'm I'm dying.
Anyway, thank you so much for being here, Six. A
Thank you so much for having me. It was so much fun.
super fun chat. So, if you guys want to follow Six and learn more about her astrology practice, I'm going to put links below. And don't forget to like, don't forget to comment, don't forget to subscribe, and click the bell if you want notifications every time I post a new video. And I will see you guys back here on the next Lilith series. Bye.
Bye.